This episode is brought to you by Voco Hotels by IHG, where you should prepare to be charmed. From Chicago to Myrtle Beach to Saranac Lake, each Voco in the U.S. has its own local flavor and unique detail. Our hosts welcome you with little extras, and you'll find rooms for catching up on me time and full-service bars and restaurants that are perfect for us time. Come on in and live the Voco life and book your next stay at vocohotels.com. VOCO hotels.com.
Welcome to episode 92 of the High Volume Hiring Podcast. Special episode. We're going to be dropping it early, little ahead of schedule. I don't think anybody's going to complain. We have a bit of a follow-up episode today, but I'm going to let a couple of other people address that. I am Stephen Rothberg. I'm one of the two co-hosts. I'm the founder of College Recruiter Job Search Site. We believe that every student and recent graduate deserves a great career and that it should be easy and inexpensive for employers to hire them. I am joined here today by my regular co-host, Jeanette Leeds. Jeanette, wonderful to see you.
Great to see you too. Jeanette Leeds. As many of you now know, I am officially with College Recruiter as a VP, but also doing my HR tech advisory and entrepreneurship. So I'm really thrilled today. We have, again, as Stephen said, special episode with an update. We have General Amran, who's back for an update on what's going on in the Air Force and Space Force, and just really exciting. For those who missed the episode back, and I think it was in the fall, October, go back and watch that one first and then tune back in. But General, welcome. Thank you for being here. Give us an update on what's going on.
Yeah, Janet and Stephen, thank you very much for having me, and it's great to be back. And I think you're right. It was maybe early mid fall timeframe last year, and it was a great discussion with y'all then. And probably the question that I get quite frequently, so I'm not surprised that it's from yours, is hey, how's recruiting going? How are the numbers? And I'm excited to say, FY25. So we work on the fiscal year starting 1 October of last year, started the fiscal year, and we'll wrap up in September of this year. But as we talked last time, I think we were just coming off of fiscal year 24,
Yeah.
which the Air Force and Space Force across the components exceeded their goal. And so that was a great rebound from fiscal year 23. But I think the amazing thing that's probably happened since FY24 and the last time we talked is as we closed out fiscal 2024, we got asked to bring in about 1,200 more on the regular Air Force side, with about half of the year left to go. The team responded, and I will tell you, the talent that they found was amazing. And so to get not only the original goal post, but then to kick the field goal a few yards farther was amazing. But the other thing was, at the same time, as you roll from year to year, what you want to do is you want to have a certain percentage of folks in the depth, the enlistment or delayed entry program. I call it the bank, like that you roll into, right? Because as we're doing production, it's a throughput, and every week to basic military training, we're sending between 600 and 800 new airmen and guardians. And so you've got to have that pipeline pressurized before you start 1 October so that you can keep that up. And so as we closed out 24, exceeding the goal, we also had built the bank up in preparation for fiscal year 25. And I don't know if we had the number quite or discussed it last time, but it was an increase even more over what we had to deliver in FY24. And so the work that they had done in 24 really set our foundation in 25. And we have been above the line across all the components: active duty, regular Air Force, Air National Guard, and Air Force Reserve, as well as the Space Force. And so it's been amazing to watch. There's probably a few things. I'll pause there. You probably have a follow-on question, but there were some reasons I think that we got after it. And I know one of the things we were talking about in the break was this campaign to have every airman and guardian, not just a recruiting force, be a recruiter. Get out there and tell the story. But there were some other things as well. We really expanded our social media reach,
Oh,
and started some partnerships with either industry or with civic organizations. And so it not only did we have an overarching national campaign for reach and to connect all of America, with the Air Force and Space Force, but really in grassroots areas too. And so it was kind of multifaceted, and seeing that effort come together, I think really started to spread the message, and get not only just across all of America, but really to better reach Gen Z where they were.
Oh, this is awesome. Now, you mentioned General Amrine a minute ago, the additional 1,200. Give us an idea, like what was like the fiscal 24 number, so that we kind of have context. Is 1,200? I know it's not, but is that double? Is it
Yeah.
50%? Like how much or larger than plan was that? Because I'm sure every single one of our viewers and listeners that's in a large organization has had to change their plan.
Yeah. So when we started fiscal 24, which was at the very end of calendar year 23, our initial target was right at about 26,000 for the regular Air Force, the enlisted number to come in. And so that number grew to 27,200 in about the May timeframe is when we got directed to plus that up. I think, and you go, okay, out of that many, is it really that big of a bump? No, but yes. And here's why, is because it's not just bring any 1,200 in, it's go find the 1,200 of the right different skill sets and jobs that we have. And I think that's the testament to the recruiting force, to be able to find the talent that was out there and go get, and I can get the specific numbers, but it wasn't like just 1,200 of any airmen. It was like 300 more security forces folks. We need another 200 IT professionals. We need another, civil engineers, or all of the 130 Air Force specialty code or job types. And so each of those were flavored out, and to be able to hit those was really, I think, what was kind of the eye watering piece, that I was so proud of the field and the way they were able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, these numbers are huge, and I'm so glad, Simon, you asked that, right? Because from a context standpoint, we're talking 27,000, like not 100,000, just for our listeners, like
Right.
huge numbers, and doing that year over year. And I mean, you made that point where everyone in the Air Force Space Force has to be a recruiter, right? It's like, and that makes a big difference. I'm curious, like, to dive in a little bit more around that social media piece and the industries and civic, and like, again, really spreading that message. Because again, it's not like you have to hire 1,000. This is big giant numbers. So maybe like dig more into that for our big hiring employers. Maybe they can take something out of your playbook.
Yeah. So the Air Force and Space Force has a civics leaders program, and that, and not only on the national level, but at the local level. When I was a wing commander in charge of a base and a flying mission, I had civic leaders. And they're from various walks of life. Some of them are business folks. Some of them work with a chamber of commerce or other things. And when we did, we really wanted to hone in on how do we capitalize on those relationships, along with the fielded forces of the Air Force and Space Force, for those operational wings that are out there. And so we really put in motion, every time that either the civilian community or the base was having an event, that we wanted to have a tie-in with our recruiters, the civic leader, and then the wing leadership, to include that public affairs, to be able to make sure that the spectrum of who knows about it is aware of it. I think a lot of times, there are so many events going on that sometimes, if you don't synchronize that right, people may miss it. And with our civic leaders, they may go, hey, they may think of different ways. And in fact, they did, to go, hey, what about this as a partner? What about this as a partner? Have you thought about these groups to be able to come in and tie in? And so that, I think, was, from that grassroots element, really, really big. And then we shifted. We have been in social media, but I think we expanded with Gen Z specifically, doing more what I would call authentic. Another term of it is raw content. Rather than to do some type of engagement, and and then have it go through its review processing, if you will. And again, when you, not just with recruiters, but when you bring that the entirety of the Air Force and Space Force to get out there and just with a selfie to tell your story, that goes live. It goes, and I've got a Gen Z son, and he would come down, and these are like, hey, I saw this pop up in my feed,
That's
and so
awesome.
I think that was really that and we have work to do, but I think that that's bearing a lot of fruit from reaching the Gen Z aspect.
I want to take a break real quick just to let you know about a new show we've just added to the network. Up Next at Work, hosted by Gene and Kata Keel of the Devon Group. Fantastic show. If you're looking for something that pushes the norm, pushes the boundaries, has some really spirited conversations, Google Up Next at Work, Gene and Kata Keel from the Devon Group.
Okay, so I have to ask the elephant in the room question. When you're empowering anybody in the organization, or perhaps practically anybody, to share content about your organization, your hiring efforts, whatever, that can go bad
Yeah.
really quickly,
Yeah.
right? Everybody who's listening right now is thinking back to their last Facebook post that they really regret or came
Sure.
to regret, right?
Yeah.
Or we're talking about, let's say, Instagram, TikTok,
Right.
like
Sure.
Facebook. Come on, that's
Fair. Okay, I'm 59. Jeanette, just be thankful I didn't talk about Friendster. All right, so we're all on the same page. I'm not even none of that newfangled stuff like MySpace. But
Right.
so, General, what do you do? I mean, obviously, you're going to provide some guidance,
Sure.
perhaps rules, but inevitably, people are going to go beyond those. Let's say they're going to post stuff that is just not helpful and could actually be harmful. What does the Air Force do in those situations?
To your point, we do have, and this was also part of the social media outreach. The ambassador, we had an ambassador program where operational wings would identify folks that had a talent for being very prolific in that space, and so they had a knack for that. And then we brought them in, and I'll say you give them left and right limits, but really what you do is you give them kind of the rule of, when you post, is this something that you would be, that you would want, your parents to see, or and what I'll tell you is, you're right. I mean, there is an inherent risk in that. But what we've seen really is that when you use that as a background, it's almost more in the proactive way rather than the reactive way of, well, don't say this and don't say that. Just, hey, at the end of the day, people kind of just want to know, what is it that you do? And if you tell that in a very transparent way, it seems to resonate. I would say one of the additions that we had since last October is this organization, Air Force Recruiting Service, actually merged to become what's called the Air Force Accession Center. And I'm dual hatted, so I wear two hats. But I'm the commander of that organization, which takes on the responsibilities of reserve officer training, the actual schoolhouse for the officer training school. So you've got ROTC, you've got OTS, the Officer Training School, our newly stood up Warrant Officer Training School, as well as junior ROTC within the high schools. And so, on 1 December, the size of the command doubled overnight. But also, there was a really good opportunity, especially with ROTC, for those cadets that are in campuses across, America, for them to be able to tell their story, because they are in the heart of that, Gen Z, and they know how to do it. And so, we capitalized on their expertise in doing that. And we put them out at really big events sometimes. We just got done doing the Miami Air Show. It was down in Miami, Florida, if you didn't see it, I would just Google it out. It was the first time we had 3 different bombing aircraft, all in formation with other dissimilar aircraft. It was a wonderful flyover that was there, but the presence between the recruiters and the operational forces that bring out, that was all told through a lens set. And I can get out there and do that, but it resonates more with Gen Z when they do it. And so that's kind of the way we've gone about this. And then we're starting to replicate this blueprint more and more and more, whether it's a big event like an air show like that, or it may be something much smaller where you have we brought baseball teams, and I'm talking like little league and up through high school type of teams onto the base, and showed them what the base is, let them do a practice out there, and then show them, let them go eat in the dining facility, take them through the simulator, show them all of the maintenance facilities, what's in the realm of possible. And again, when you have those folks that are talking and just capturing that as content, it becomes authentic, and I think it resonates a little bit with folks.
I love that. That's oh, I'm looking at the time. I'm like, I think we have
Are
one
we
last
running?
question, so I'm gonna grab it. But what I think is interesting from a theme standpoint is like when we had you on the first time, it was about, everyone's a recruiter. And I feel like this theme today is about being really authentic, right? And just really showing who you are and almost not being afraid, right? Like, okay, take some risks, but within some guardrails, but just let everyone be who they are, right? And so everyone can understand what the Air Force and Space Force is about. What do you think? So last question, and this might, I don't know, maybe this is unfair question. What do you think when we have you back in 9 months? See what I just did there?
I did.
What do you think is going to be like the theme for this like upcoming year? Like just or thinking about
Crystal ball.
what's next.
What I would say is probably as we built off of Every Airman and Guardians a Recruiter, to new and authentic ways to tell our story. I would say right now what we're really focusing on is that synchronization of the communication. So it again it's expanding the total force recruiting network rather than just the total recruiting force. And so you have this network, and again, whether it's civic leaders, industry partners, we formed a memorandum of agreement with an organization called Sandbox, and its primary purpose as a business is it is designed to expand reach. Really, and to keep up reach with folks that are in the military going through basic training or other, and not just the Air Force, but we were able to do that, and that was a very innovative way. So finding those possibilities that are out there, and then synchronizing that together, I think is really where I'd say the crystal ball is on where we can go, because we again in FY25 our requirement went up, and we're going to deliver. We're on track to deliver over 30,000 on the Reg App side for the enlisted only alone. For the total force, which is Guard, Reserve, and all of our officer production, we're going to be just north of 52,000 that we will bring in this single year. And so I know a lot of the discussion we had was on basic military training and the enlisted force, but our officer training production. All of that has been growing as well, and so I guess what I'd get off the stage with is that that I'm really proud of the team and what they're doing. And there's some big milestones. We stood up a Space Force dedicated recruiting squadron that's going to build out over the next year. Special warfare. A lot of folks don't. I think it's like Air Force does special warfare. We absolutely do, and we're growing there as well. And what I would say is that even with the successes that the field has had and these partnerships and everything else, we are still hiring. We need great talent, and we'd love you to come join our team. Airforce.com, Spaceforce.com, or the Aim High app is where you can start, and our team will be in contact with you.
So awesome. Success
Love
breeds
it.
success,
Seriously.
and all the success to you and the team. Thank you so much, General. It has been a real pleasure talking with you again.
Oh, it's so good to see you all, and let's see what happens in the next 6 to 9 months, huh?
Sounds good. Thank you so much, General.
bet.
Thanks, Stephen.
Cheers.
Until next time.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.